Well, hello everyone and welcome back. Today it is a beautiful day outside. It is hot, the sun is burning, and I've been outside working. I've got a new machine here and I've been thinking about running one of these for a while, seeing if I like it, and I'd really like to get your thoughts on how one of these fits into one of our firewood operations. So let's take a look. The firewood, I think we can all agree, we need some sort of loader. Not everybody has a loader, I get it, but a loader really makes your life nicer, and you just need something to be able to move your splitter around, move rounds around, logs. If you use IBC totes, you need to be able to move totes, and you know, if you do firewood, you're probably into other stuff, and a loader is just so handy. So I think the most common thing used among us firewood people are tractors. They're just so universal, and you can just do a lot of different things with them. I wouldn't say they're good at any one thing, but you can do a lot of things with them. So the reason why I bought a tractor and I like using a tractor for firewood is because it's easy to get it on and off of, pretty easy. I always need to be able to hold something up in a bucket and hop out the door, or hold something up on the forks. The loader, being able to hold something at height and get out, makes all the difference on the wear and tear on your body. So that's why I chose a tractor, because I can get on and off of it with the loader up, and it's easy to get in and out of. I really do like skid steers, but I don't think a skid steer would ever work for me, just because there's too many times where I have the loader up where it would be blocking the door to where I couldn't open the door with a skid steer, or if I didn't have a door, I'd have to weasel in and out, and I don't really want to do any of that. So that's why I like the tractor. Recently though, I've really been considering a mini skid steer. They're becoming more popular, and for good reason. So I decided to rent one. I had a job I did with one. I paired the mini skid steer with my mini excavator, and I did a job. It worked really nice, but ultimately I wanted to see if it would work for firewood. And these mini skid steers, they're rated at 1,000 pounds lift capacity, most of them. Some of them are smaller, and I know what you're thinking, 1,000 pounds doesn't seem that much, and I agree. That's why I kind of steered away from them. My tractor, I believe, is rated for 1,700 pounds, but after owning my tractor for so long, I found out there's no way that tractor will lift 1,700 pounds. Unlike forks, obviously the rating is at the no attachment at the pins. That's what the rating is. So realistically, I think that tractor, the way I have it set up with forks on the front, and then I have the rear tires weighted, I think realistically it'll only lift probably 1,200 to 1,300 pounds. I've been looking into these mini skids. 1,000 pounds lift capacity is what they say. It seems like they'll lift 1,000. If you weight them heavier in the back, they'll lift more, but I think they'll lift what I need to lift. So I rented one. I've already been using it a lot, and I've got a good feel for it, so I can confidently talk about it. But we're gonna go take a walk around it. I'm gonna show you what it is, and then we're just gonna do some lift tests with it, and I'll talk about some of the pros and cons with it as compared to a tractor, as if this was in your wood yard and this was gonna replace a tractor. So let's go look at it right now. All right, so what I've got here is a Bobcat MT100, and yes, there is a 72-inch bucket on the front of it. It's my firewood bucket that I use on my tractor, and just out of curiosity, I wanted to see if the pins would match up, because the skid this Bobcat uses the Bobcat Quick Attach, the mini one or something like that, and I think some of the other minis use a something else connector, and I know those won't work because they're a lot smaller. So this actually matches up, so this is cool. But this is a Bobcat MT100. This is a 2024 model. It's got 30 hours on it. I rented it from the fine folks at Bobcat of Lafayette, and it is a pretty good unit. So like I said before, it's rated to lift 1,000 pounds, and from the factory it comes with 120 pounds total of weight in the tracks right there. Now you can move those weights to the back there and increase your lift capacity more, because I really don't think anything that I'm going to lift up, or things you would try to lift up with this, you're not going to max out the hydraulics on this. You're going to max out the tipping problem on it. So I think if I was to purchase this unit, I would buy an additional set of counterweights that are in the tracks and put them on the back there. They just bolt up right there. It's pretty easy. But overall, this Bobcat MT100, it just has a 24 horsepower Kubota in it, and the controls are very, very simple. On the left is all your drive, forward, left, right, reverse. The loader is just like a skid steer or a tractor. It's got throttle, auxiliary hydraulics, simple basic gauges. This has the hydraulics on the front, and one of the big things with these of what I'm impressed with is this thing is quick. The speed of the machine isn't quick. It's like 4 or 5 miles an hour, so about medium gear on a tractor, but the hydraulics on this thing are fast. I think my tractor's GPM hydraulic flow, I believe it's rated at like 8, but that's for like the whole tractor. I've read several people say that they've measured it and you won't ever get that out of it. It's like 6. This Bobcat, I believe, is 15 GPM. So if you were to run an auger on the front, a trencher, stump grinder, anything, it's fast. It's not like running off a third function on a tractor where it's slow. It's quick. The hydraulics are very quick. The bucket goes up and down, tilts way quicker than my tractor does. And you can multifunction on this. Well, that is one thing I don't like about my tractor is if you're going up, you cannot curl at the same time. Or if you're going down, I don't know, they're slow and you can't multifunction. This one, you can be driving full speed and the loader multifunctions no problem at all. It's pretty cool and pleasing to use. So one thing I was saying that I like about this Bobcat, and I know this is a lot of talking, but there is a lot of information. One thing I like about this is it is short, as in, here I'll show you what I'm talking about. This Bobcat, as far as lengthwise, you know, it's not very big. I would say from back to front is 6 or 8 feet, and obviously with a skid steer it turns on a dime, so you can really get in some tight places with this. This model is 36 inches wide, 35.5. They make a 44-inch model, and I know Matt over at Lily's Farm and Firewood, he has the wide track one and it looks good. I've watched like every one of his videos before I really decided to look into one of these things. So yeah, it's a pretty cool machine, but one of the biggest things I like about it is as easy it is to step on and off. So you can be moving, you know, run your stuff, and then you just hop off and do whatever you got to do up here. This would really be good for if you have the grapple on the front or a log grapple. You know, you could grab your wood and just cut it as you go. It's not like the tractor where you have to like sit up from where you're sitting and then hop down. And obviously, you know, put it in neutral, put your parking brake on. This doesn't have any of that. You know, you're running it and you're to work. That is what I think is just so cool about this. I'm gonna take this big bucket, and I've got some slash and stuff over there, and I'm just gonna clean it up, and then we'll put the forks on, and we're gonna do a real lift test and see what this thing will actually lift. And is it comparable to what I have as a tractor, and I think what most of you guys have as a tractor too, as far as the size. So let's go right now. So that worked pretty well. One thing when I'm thinking about a woodyard tool, I definitely need to be able to have a big bucket on the front of it like this. And I would never scoop dirt or gravel or anything with this bucket. But doing firewood, if you're not familiar with firewood, there's always tons of scraps and sawdust and stuff left over. And if I was just using a small bucket on my tractor or the small bucket for this machine, it's like 44 inches or 36 inches, it would take forever. So having the big bucket is a great benefit, and having a machine that will handle it is a great benefit. So I'm gonna get this dumped and clean the rest of it up, and then we're gonna do a fork test. All right, so the bucket worked great. Now we're gonna go through several different totes and see what this thing will lift. Just to preface this, my tractor, 1,700 pounds lift capacity. I'll just tell you as I go, would the tractor lift it? So first things first, we've got a 275 gallon IBC tote of walnut, and it is heaped up. I would call this a face cord, maybe just a touch short, but it's definitely heaped up over. This walnut is semi-dry. I split it probably a week ago, but the logs have been sitting for a while, so in fresh out of the woods, it would probably be just a touch heavier, but not much. So we're gonna try this one out. So this has no problem with it at all. I feel like I could safely drive around and I could load it onto my trailer. So that is good. One thing I do like about this is this thing has plenty of curling capacity, and the tractor would definitely lift this without much problem at all. It'd be a little bit heavy on the front tires, but it would do it, no problem. So our next test here is a quarter cord of oak, and actually this is hickory, a quarter cord of hickory, and this is in a 275 gallon tote. And I know whenever it was wet, my tractor would hardly lift this at all. It was pretty much freewheeling all the way to get over here. So we'll see how the Bobcat does. Obviously it's dry now, so it's going to be lighter than when it was wet, but I know my tractor would pick this up as it sits probably with no issues, but it'd probably be pretty heavy on the front tires. So we'll see how this one goes. This is not too bad at all. I can definitely get it up and get it onto a trailer. This is pretty heavy on the front tracks and pretty comparable to the tractor. However, I feel like if I added a weight kit to this, additional 120 pounds would really make a good difference. Now you can see it's getting it up. It's pretty hard on the front of the tracks, a lot of weight on them. But it would definitely do it, move it to where it needs to go. So next up, we've got a little bit more than a quarter cord of oak. The tractor would get it here when it was wet, but it was all it wanted. Let's see how the Bobcat does. Rev it up. Yeah. No problem, similar to the tractor. So it'll definitely lift up the walnut, ash, maple, those are all pretty light woods. The oak and hickory, it struggles a little bit, but it'll do it just like the tractor. Now I've got this locust here, and this locust was split about probably 3 months ago now, and this stuff, whenever I split it, this stuff's heavy. And it was wet, so tractor barely got it over here. We'll see how the mini skid handles it and see if it'll lift it up. These are 275 totes stacked a little bit higher, so we'll see. So here we go into it. Yeah, you can see it's a little tippy here. Can I get off of it? Here's a good question. So I am off of the machine, it's up there. So I just lost 190 pounds off the back of it, and it's doing it. That is a little bit more than a quarter cord of locust, and it is not that dry. So I'm pretty pleased with that, really. go on a little cruise. I'll say it at the end, but I'll just say it right now. One thing I dislike about this is the travel speed. I mean, it's not terrible. And the other thing is the engine noise. This thing is loud. For having a very similar Kubota engine that's in my mini excavator, this thing is quite a bit noisy. If you were going to run this extensively, you'd want hearing protection. So yeah, guys, what do you think? Would I be crazy to want to purchase one of these and sell my tractor and give up my tractor? Here's the kind of the way I look at it. My tractor, I use it for pretty much woodyard purposes only, and then the forks to move stuff around. I don't have property. I do have a bush hog, and I do a decent amount of bush hog, but none of it's for me. I've never bush hogged for myself. So I feel like this machine might be what I need. One other thing I really like about this machine, it's a Bobcat. My Bobcat dealer is 15 minutes away. Any sort of implement I need for the front, they've got it. I can rent it. Post hole augers, they make mowers for these now, bush hogs, 48 inch mowers. So I feel like this would be really good for bush hogging trails and stuff in, because it is so compact, and it's not the big tractor and bush hog that's just taking up space, and you have the bush hog on the front and you don't have to worry about running over stuff. I don't know, I feel like this is a pretty good machine. I don't think that my tractor has any edge on it as far as lifting. I feel like if my tractor was weighted really heavy in the rear end, it would probably lift a little bit more than this, but I've experienced with my tractor that even when it lifts a lot, it can't curl it. So as you raise up, the bucket just starts tipping down. It has no curl power if it's loaded heavy in the front end and it's not tipping. It's compact, it's narrow, it's easy to get on and off of. This was definitely a good time to rent one and try one out and see what I think. But that's that. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.